I believe it's important that Australian kids read books by Australian authors about their own backyard. If kids bought my Max Remy series, which is also published in the US, if they bought the American version, they would not only be buying Americanised language, but the characters in these books have been made into American characters as well. It's absolutely vital that kids read Australian books by Australian authors.
To me, it is very simple. We need to defend Australian copyright laws to support Australian authors telling Australian stories to Australian people and stop the ongoing process of Coca-colonisation.
My concern with the proposed changes to the parallel importation rules is that there are authors out there, unknown, new authors, who may never see their works being published. They may never have that chance, because realistically, what publisher is going to carry out the considerable investment in developing a new author unless they have a reasonable expectation they'll be able to recoup that investment? I just don't see that happening.
Hello, my name's POSIE. I'm an Australian novelist. I'm here to defend Australian copyright in novels because for 30 years before I was a novelist, I also made television. We had a long fight to keep Australian stories on our screens and avoid being dumped on with cheaper programming from overseas. I see what's going on now in books as exactly parallel. I think we need Australian voices. Our audiences and the people who buy books say we do. So please, let's keep books Australian. Thanks.
We need Australian copyright laws so that Australian publishers can provide us with a range and diversity of good Australian books at affordable prices for Australian readers.
We need to protect our Australian copyright laws so our young writers have just as much of a chance as those in the US, the UK and Canada of having their writing published and noticed within their communities.
I'm against the abolition of Australian copyright because we have a literary and publishing culture. We didn't have it to anything like the same extent when I was a young writer. Now we do. Why toss it away?
Hi, I'm Garth Nix. Protecting Australian territorial copyright is vital because it is the basic building block of the publishing industry worldwide. The two biggest publishing nations in the world, the United States and the United Kingdom, have complete territorial copyright, and they're not changing theirs. So why should Australia change its territorial copyright to get nothing in return? If we change our laws, as the Productivity Commission suggests, this Australian edition of my most recent book can't go to the US, it can't go to the United Kingdom, but both these books can come into Australia and make money for American and British publishers and pay me a lot less, whilst undercutting the Australian edition, the one that's published here by an independent Australian publisher, printed here in Australia and supports Australian jobs. Let's not surrender Australian copyright and get nothing in return.
We need to defend Australian copyright laws because they support Australian publishers, Australian writers and Australian jobs. Authors in America, the UK and Canada all enjoy copyright protection. Why should we surrender ours? Books matter, writers matter, Australian stories matter. Defend our copyright laws.